Welcome to Cultural Collision 北腔南调. I'm Victoria.
I'm EJ.
Today, we are diving deep into a topic that resonates with so many of us. Rediscovering oneself in your 30s, finding the joy of play and having fun even as adults, and learning what it's like to be too happy or have too much fun.
We're going to take you on a bit of a journey as we explore the fascinating facets of defining FUN fun. So buckle up.
First thing we want to discuss about is how we rediscovering ourselves in our 30s. So EJ, I wonder what's one of your fondest childhood memories?
It's so funny that you asked this because I've actually been thinking about this a lot recently because it was just my cousin's birthday and my memory has to do with her. Growing up, we used to play a lot together because we were around the same age, and so my parents would drop us off at her house, and she always had the coolest Barbie sets and the Barbie houses and things like that. And it was at the time in the 90s where the Spice Girls were really popular. So we would get the Barbies and we would create these really intricate dance routines to the Spice Girls. So it was just her birthday a few days ago. So I actually said happy birthday. And then I said spice up your life. So yeah, that's probably one of my favorite memories was doing that with her, my sister.
That sounds interesting. I just recently watched the David Beckham, the documentary he shooted. And there's the memory of him, his wife, and the Spice Girls. Oh, yeah. And you mentioned that. I was oh, that's I have the image in my head. Yeah, that's quite interesting.
What about you? What's one of your fondest childhood memories?
Well, I don't think I have a very good memory. So only thing I can think of is when I was young, I play with the kid from my building after school. So back then, even I live in Beijing, but I didn't live in the hutong. We have a huge building and people were quite close to each other. And I remember there's a playground in front of the building and we just so happy to play with each other after school. And each time by the dinner time, and my mom will just call me back to home to eat. Yeah, that's something I can think of when I was young. That's pretty fun.
But is that phrase 什么？妈妈叫你回家吃饭。
Yes. Because you're so happy you just on the play, you don't want to go back to eat, you know? Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Speaking of the childhood memories. So have you ever been so happy you can speak? And what were some of those things for you growing up?
Definitely. I would say probably the biggest thing was Christmas. I remember trying to explain the magic of Christmas to someone in China who maybe hadn't really experienced a traditional Christmas before. And I don't know, there's something about like the build up and the anticipation and you make your Christmas list and you try to be on your best behavior, for the whole year or at least the months leading into Christmas because you want to make sure you get everything. But I don't know, there's just something about going to bed and everything being normal and waking up the next day and you have this beautiful tree and all these presents underneath it and people are cooking and it's your favorite breakfast foods and everyone's in a happy mood and I don't know, you can't really speak. You're just so excited. I don't know. It's something like that that I feel as an adult, we don't really celebrate Christmas that way anymore. And I feel you sort of know what's going on behind the scenes as a kid or as an adult now, so it doesn't feel, as exciting. But yeah, I would say that's definitely something that every year, it's just a type of an excitement that you feel in your body.
That sounds quite exciting. The way I can think similarly happen in China is how we celebrate the Chinese New Year. But I don't think the logic behind where how we celebrate is similar because only thing I first for children how we got excited is because the hongbao, the red packet. So you got that from parents, from grandparents. But yeah, the Christmas thing sounds could be something you can very expect something looking forward to for the next day when the Christmas day arrived.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Do you feel like, now that we're obviously not children anymore, do you feel like fun has ever like stopped for you, or there's been a time in your life where maybe fun or play has been less of a priority?
Absolutely. I think the part of that is we never really stop pursuing having fun, right? It's just over the time having fun, like or try to have fun is not is lower priority right now, especially after graduating from school. And we really step into the real world where we search for jobs, a place to live, a partner, and we try to make friends and eventually begin to build families, right? And suddenly all of these aspects are taking priorities of our life. So like it seems having fun is not that important anymore. How do you feel?
I definitely agree in that like I've also observed that people, because of whatever changes in their life, they tend to uh deprioritize, if you will, fun. I feel like I don't know if I've ever really stopped prioritizing it. I think part of it is that like whether it's socially with my friends or in my communities or even at work, it's hard for me to want to sustain something if I'm not enjoying it. I think like even things that maybe, I start, let's say for a job, if they initially are fun and exciting for me, I think once they stop being fun and exciting for me, my motivation changes, right? I like end
Mm-hmm.
up wanting to seek out something else that's going to give me some sense of joy or excitement. So I don't know. I can't tell if that's a good or a bad thing. Sometimes it makes me think about like toxic positivity and like seeking out things just because they're good and positive. And I don't know if I'm necessarily at that place, but I do think that sometimes like especially in the workplace, sometimes I can like convince myself that the work itself is fun or good. But it's not. It's just that the reward that I get for doing the job is good. So I do have to, I don't know, that's something that I've been like considering a lot recently. But if I had to think of like one specific thing that I do feel like was lost for me in terms of fun was like reading. I feel like I used to really, really love reading and being able to like do that just for fun. I think like school kind of took some of that out, but I think being out of school now is, making its way back into my life. So I'm happy about that.
Oh, that's interesting. I think when I was young in the school, I never thought like reading was a fun part of of the whole teenage life. But now I quite enjoy reading because like I feel reading it gives me a lot of me time. It just be quiet, enjoy a cup of coffee or like cup of tea, and in the afternoon I just like stay in a cozy room and hearing like jazz and can read books. I think that's quite like fun in adulthood, but like especially in China, right? Like when you in school, you read the only thing you read is because you need to remember all the things, and then you need to do that for the test. So I don't think that's fun for me when I was young.
Mhm.
So we're talking about like we explore the importance of play in the adulthood. How many of your childhood joys have continued into adulthood since we're talking about reading? Is there other things in your
Definitely singing. I feel like singing has been a through line in my life. It's taking like very various forms. I used to be in choirs growing up. I actually hated choirs growing up, even though I like singing. I think I was just so shy and like afraid of being seen and like being heard and like, what if I messed up? But I did choirs. I got into musical theater. I did a cappella. Being in China, karaoke was so big, and so a lot of KTV, and like even being back here, right? There's a lot of karaoke, at bars and things like that in the US even. And I live alone, and I have a pretty nice speaker, so I like do sing a lot to my dogs. So I feel like singing for me is something that has been a pretty important through line. And then also learning languages. I've always enjoyed learning languages. Like even when I was a kid, I would just like make up languages on my own because I just always thought it was so cool. So I don't have as much of the same discipline maybe as I did in my younger years. So like sit down and study every day and like give it the commitment that it needs. But you know, my Duolingo has probably, I don't know, at any given time 4 to 7 languages on it. So I do it more so for fun now than trying to like, I don't know, become fluent. But if I could quit my job and just become a professional language learner, I probably would.
Wow. So
Yeah.
how many languages you can speak?
Ooh, how many can I speak? Ooh, I would say 3, but I've studied like 5 or 6, like formally. Yeah. Yeah.
You just haven't practiced for a long
Yeah, I
time.
haven't
Mhm.
practiced and yeah.
Yeah. Wow, that's interesting. Yeah, I cannot think of any like the things I used to love when I was in my childhood. I think maybe sports, but
Mm,
like it doesn't limit to one specific type of sport. I just like I think my family used to raise me as a boy. So like I used to hike a lot with my dad, with my family, and I learned swimming when I was very young. And I think that like that gene, like the sports gene continues. So I like keep going on. I love like all kinds of sports. I love, like yesterday I just like hiked with a couple of friends to there's a place called MacRitchie in Singapore. That was like 11 kilometers. It was like 2.5 hours. And we run into the heavy rain and we are soaked. But that was like very quite interesting experience. Yeah.
interesting is one way to describe it.
Yeah. It's quite like it's really like hiking experience.
Was it raining when you were at the top? How far into the hike were you when it started raining?
About a half, like 7K, and
Oh
then
my,
start raining. And we stop for a little bit, and then the rain doesn't stop. So like it didn't look like it's gonna stop anytime soon. So we're just like, whatever, we just keep walking.
wow.
Yeah,
Sporty Spice over here. Sporty Spice.
yeah, it is. And next, I think that is very interesting because we want to share some anecdotes and research on the benefits of fun. You want to share some like your research about like having fun?
Yes. So one thing about the benefits of having fun relates to stress reduction. So think about how a good laugh with friends or an adorable hobby can relieve stress after a long day. So research says that laughter and engaging in fun activities triggers the release of endorphins, our body's natural feel-good chemicals, reducing stress and promoting a sense of relaxation.
When's the last time you had like loved, have so much fun with your friend?
Very recently. I'm a pretty avid watcher of Drag Race. So I invite friends over and we end up watching together. And so I had a couple of friends over the other day and we watched and like I laughed so hard, like I was crying, like literally tears streaming from my face. So it was great, especially because like work has been so busy and so stressful recently. So it was nice to be able to like make time for that, even in one of the busiest times of the year.
That's good. Especially we know now like love can help with like stress reduction, right?
Mhm.
You also know what like love also can improve our creativity. So many artists and inventors have had their breakthrough moments while having fun or doing the leisure activities. So the research says studies have shown that engaging in enjoyable, non-work related activities can boost creative thinking, provide fresh perspective, and innovative ideas.
How do you express your creative side? Do you have any, creative hobbies? Do you paint or draw or anything of that sort?
I'm not like a creative person. I don't like believe this, but like I'm not like just I don't have a lot of like I'm just not type of the artist. That's not my thing. How about you?
Hmm. Hmm. But I feel like you think creatively. I feel like you're very fashionable, you know? So I feel like, do you not feel that way?
Not really, but thank you for saying that.
Okay. I don't know. I mean, I guess if it's outside of singing, I think most recently something that I've been trying to do is, decorating more. I just like decorated another room in my house over the weekend, so that was really exciting. It's a lot more challenging than I thought, but it's fun to have to like, think about aesthetics and what kind of vibes do I want the room to feel like and what sorts of things can I put in it to achieve that. So probably that's the thing I've been doing most recently to, express my creativity.
That sounds like very fun.
So something that we were talking about earlier is about work and how, having fun or play can affect work. And obviously, when work is more enjoyable, I find that I can be more productive. And so productivity is something that is also impacted and enhanced when we are having fun or playing. So people often find that they accomplish more when they enjoy their tasks rather than when they're just going through the motions. So, research suggests that incorporating elements of fun and play into work can actually increase productivity, motivation, and job satisfaction. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah, I think that's very important. And remember, like, I used to have a lot of fun, like, when we worked together. So, like,
Mm.
that was, oh my God, like 8 years ago. Like 7 or 8 years ago. It was so much fun. Like, working with people are so funny, and our age are similar and experience are similar, and we have a lot like common topics, and we drink together and we hang out together. And so that's also helped us like, I think, connect with each other. It also help us to relieve the stress from work, and then while we're having fun. I totally agree with that.
Yeah, which I
Yeah.
feel like is really uncommon. At least I found coming back to the US. I don't know how it is in Singapore, but I feel like people typically don't want to have those types of relationships or like build those types of, bonds with their coworkers. So I felt like that was really sort of special and unique for our experience.
Yeah, I totally agree. I feel like in Asia culture, people don't want to be very close with people at work, especially when you are not in the same title. Like people think, because if we are going too close, right, how are we gonna maintain a good relationship at work? Then if you make something wrong, then can I criticize you? Right. So, but back then, we don't think too much about this. I think it's really good environment. We talk to each other, we respect each other. Yeah. So the next one is very also like very interesting is it can create a stronger social bonds. I think just we discussed, right? So fun social interactions build deeper connections and lasting relationships. I think that's why like EJ, you and I, and also a lot of friends from the company we work for, and we still are very good friends. We have a deeper connection. And the research also shows that shared enjoyment in social activities enhance social bonding, trust, and cooperation among the individuals. Remember, we used to have like the retreat and the shufu day. So
Oh,
much fun, right?
I could use a shufu day. Oh, that would be amazing. Everyone deserves a shufu day.
Yeah. So like shufu day is something like we used to have like when a very like the peak area we were very busy for the spring, like for the autumn, and after that we have the shufu day, and we will go to a really nice French restaurant. Like we eat together, we drink together, we laugh together. And the other shufu day we used to have is to live in a 5-star hotel with their executive lounge. So we have all the meals, all the drinks. You don't need to leave the hotel. You just like hang out with your friends, enjoy the dinner, enjoy the wine, enjoy the breakfast. There are like facilities in the hotel. That's really a shufu day.
Yeah, yeah, maybe I'll make my own shufu day on a budget here. In addition, having fun and play also impacts our health. So physical activities like dancing, playing sports, or even just playing with pets can be both fun and beneficial for our health. Research says that engaging in enjoyable physical activities promotes physical fitness, overall health, and well-being. You said you are, grew up in a sporty family and you have that, gene in you. What is your favorite physical activity or sort of sport to engage in?
Just kind of like love all the activities. I think because it creates what they call it. So you just normally generally be happy after exercise and you
Mhm.
feel like you're released. It's not like actually having fun, but if you are engaged in an interactive sports like dodging ball or like people running together or like doing team sports, I think that definitely help with improve health. Also like laughing, exercise plus like it's kind of like 1 plus 1 more than like equals more than two,
Mm, mm, I
right?
think that 1 plus 1 equals more than two. I'm
Yeah.
gonna steal that.
We share about laughing can reduce the stress, but do you know also it can like help with the like stress resilience? So people who incorporate enjoyable activities into their daily lives often report better resilience against stressors. So the research found out fun experiences can enhance emotional resilience, making it easier to bounce back from life challenges. Do you agree?
I do. I do. I find this also this comes up when like you're having a hard moment in life and sometimes you have I get that urge to isolate and like stay in. And what I found is that like it actually does help when people are like, no, come out and like let's do this thing. Because it gives you an opportunity to get your mind off of it, even if it's only temporarily, right? You get an opportunity to remind yourself, like, oh, there's all of this good things, and I have people that care about me and want to spend time with me. So that's something that I have to remind myself because sometimes I do just want to, you know, hermit and be by myself and sulk in my feelings. Finally, we want to share how having fun and thinking about play can help in our own learning and development. So, children often learn best through play, where learning is disguised as fun. And I would even argue that that is the same with adults or at any point in our life. So, research suggests that play based learning has proven to be highly effective in early childhood education, promoting cognitive, social, and emotional development. So, for all of you out there who have kids, work with kids, thinking about having kids, don't forget, let the kids play.
After sharing some like the antidotes and research on the benefits of fun, we want to go back to our real life, right? Because like we discussed in the beginning, when we are in our 30s, we realize the chasing fun is not our first priority now. So we want to discuss what prevents you from having fun.
For me, I have found that I always have this question in my mind, like, is it worth it? Right. And sometimes that I mean that like literally do I have, can I afford to do the thing that maybe it's for fun, maybe it's because it's a cost thing, maybe it's because it impacts my work. But it's also because I'm like, oh, sometimes I think like I don't know if this is worth an investment of my time or energy. And I hate that I have to do that so much now. Sometimes I just used to do things because they were fun and I wasn't always overthinking it and thinking about like what's the return on my investment in this. I also find that sometimes I want to take a passion because of like this grind culture, this sort of hustle culture. I'm like, okay, like how can I make money off of this? Oh, that's a cool idea. How can I market this? Or like, how can I make this thing into some sort of a product? And like sometimes that's great and that's beneficial, right? But I don't know. I think sometimes I don't know if it's necessarily a bad thing, but it definitely changes my relationship to this thing that, you know, could just be purely meant to bring me, joy. What about
I
you?
to- yeah, I totally agree. It remembers I always like I love travel. So I always want to travel the world. And people around me, they were just like, why don't you just try to be a travel blogger? And then I was like, I love travel. I enjoy traveling and I can engage with people and see different things. But if that's become my job, part of my like obligation, then I think all change, right? Everything change. And I know I totally get like we should try to make money from our like the things we're like really into the where we're passionate at. And but the reality is most of us like we know if you're really trying to get this passion into your work and it's not going to be fun anymore. At least like it used to be 100% like 100 score like fun from like 1 to 10 it's going to be 10 before and but like the moment we are turning to a work maybe down to like 8 6 7 where like it changes, the momentum changes, everything change. So we're talking about like what prevents us from having fun. How can we to breaking free from these barriers we just mentioned?
It's definitely challenging, I think, depending on your circumstances. But as I said earlier, I watch a lot of Drag Race, and I was actually just watching All Stars 2 before this. And one of the contestants, Tatiana, says, you know, everyone has to make choices, and that was a choice. And I think that, we have to be able to, I think, come to terms with like, it's not possible to have it all, right? I think, a lot of times we want to have our cake and eat it too. And I think for, in most circumstances, we can't have it all. So I think maybe that shouldn't be our goal. And maybe the goal is thinking about, what can I do that is enough for me, which I think is hard for us to figure out like where the line is for enough versus like that desire to be ambitious and like go for more. But I think that if your plate is too full with like, going after goal and going for the next thing, then you don't leave space for fun. You don't leave space for play. So I think you have to, I don't know, maybe learn to say no to some things. And I think that's a really, really hard skill to build.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. For me, I think those barriers will never go away. We simply need to learn how to have fun and coexist with them. Like I mentioned before, right? Like we used to have so much fun working at the company and make really good friends and really enjoyed going to work every day. For an extended period, I found joy and happiness in my work. Consider that like 1/3 of our time are like actually is consumed by our jobs. I think if work becomes a source of suffering, finding happiness solely outside work is insufficient, at least for me. But however, I also think acknowledging how challenging it can be to find a job you love, joy, and have fun with. So what I've been doing is constantly reflecting on what is the most important thing in my life and what I desire. And all the while seeking passion outside work. So like I mentioned, like I love sports, so like trying to seek in the things I love besides so I can just work and after work I'll just do my life. And I'm also thinking about taking a pause if necessary. If you can really have fun and you don't know what you want to do and you don't know what can make you like laugh anymore, just take a pause and have some like me time and really think about it.
Take a pause. I think that's so important. More pauses. Yeah.
We always like keep trying different things in our life and we never when thinking about like taking a pause we're stop, we're going like panic, what are we gonna do, right? If we take a pause, what are we gonna do, what's my day look like, because when we at work we know what we're gonna do for Monday, for Tuesday, right? We have all full of lists we need to do. But yeah, but I just highly recommend to take a pause, maybe just for myself first.
So we've been talking about the necessity of taking pauses. Let's maybe get into what happens when you don't take that pause and you get into maybe overdoing it, having too much fun, maybe overstretching yourself and doing too much. So maybe we can talk about, is it possible to be too happy or have too much fun? What are some of your thoughts on that. Do you think it's possible to be too happy or to have too much fun? Have you been too happy before? Have you felt like you had too much fun?
I would never thought like I had too much fun. Like
Mm,
if I enjoy it, right? I think that's fine. I think his point is we need to have a baseline of happiness. So like we can't always be like on the top of a on the peak. It was like keep having fun. Where also we can't be at the bottom of the line where it's like feel sad all the time. And then I think it's most important is like when you really have fun, just enjoy it and realize this is not the normal situation. This is not the normal days. You will come to the baseline. You will come to back to normal someday, and just get used to it. How do you feel?
yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think it's also to the point of, like being mindful of, you know, getting so attached to the peaks of like feeling really happy to avoid the lows, like the valleys of feeling low is, like you have to sort of spread out where you're deriving your happiness from, right? If you put all your eggs in one basket, well, like what happens if that thing shifts or goes away, or you can't do it anymore, or you become overly reliant on that one thing or that person or that activity, or so I definitely think that's like really, really important to be mindful of.
We talk about like having fun. Also, we have responsibilities, right? Do you think there's a way to take the balance between the two of them?
I think that sometimes this idea of like striking balance between things, or, work hard, play hard, can be really misleading because like no one ever really defines for you like what it means to have a balance between like work and play, or like, having fun in your responsibilities. At least not for me. I don't think in my life I've seen, you know, as many sort of explicit conversations around what it means to, be responsible in those ways. I think at most, I think sometimes people say, well, get the things you need to get done so you can do the things that you like want to do, right? Do the things you need to do so you can do the things you want to do. But outside of that, I think that like, I don't know. I think it's difficult, I think, depending on your circumstances to strike that balance. Um, yeah, what about you?
I think the point is don't to try to think of responsibilities as burdens. Right? It's not about choosing one over the other, but finding harmony between them. Because sometimes really like fulfilling our responsibilities can bring a sense of accomplishment and contribute to our overall well-being. So like I think responsibility and happiness can be seen as intertwined. And not like once I have sole responsibility, I have like so much to do in life that I cannot be happy. So achieving our responsibilities can lead to a sense of like contentment, and pursuing happiness can make us more productive and effective in fulfilling our responsibilities. Like we mentioned, like having fun can make you more creative. Having fun can be you can be more productive, and then use that creativity and productivity back into your life and try to find the balance, right? In life is dynamic, like we mentioned before. The balance between may need a periodic reassessment as the circumstances change. So flexibility and adaptability are important. So achieving a balance between is not a fixed state, but an ongoing process. So it involves aligning personal values, prioritizing self-care, and recognizing the interconnectedness of those two essential aspects of life. And finally, the goal is to leading a fulfilling and meaningful life that acknowledges both happiness as responsibilities.
Before we end the episode, we want to continue in our new tradition of giving our listeners a recommendation. So this week, we'd like to encourage everyone to make space in their schedule, in their busy weeks, for play and to have fun, whatever that might look like for you. Maybe it's going outside on a walk without your headphones in, maybe it's getting up early and doing yoga, or, going to that workout class that you've been meaning to do, or cooking yourself a meal at home, or going out dancing, whatever it might be. Make space in your week for play and to have fun, and let us know how it changes your week and how it improves your week.
And that's a wrap for today's episode of Culture Collation. You've enjoyed this journey into finding happiness and fulfillment beyond societal norms.
Remember, happiness is a unique and ever-evolving journey for each one of us. Embrace your path, rediscover yourself, and never underestimate the power of having a little fun.
If you loved today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review us on your favorite podcast platform, whether it's Apple Podcast, Spotify, or 小宇宙. And please share this episode with someone who could use a little more happiness in their life.
Stay tuned for more incredible stories of cultural collisions and connections in our next episode. Until then, keep exploring, keep connecting, and keep finding your own unique path to happiness and fulfillment. Bye.
Bye.